Hello, every amazing human in the world. Thank you so much for jumping on the YouTube channel here. So let's quickly talk about fear and anxiety. I know we've talked about this before, but I want to give you practical neuroscientific backed techniques. Some of these you may have been referred to actually use. Some of them you may have even heard of. But we're going to talk about first does anxiety or does fear kick us out of the state? No. Now, this is not going to be popular because most people would say yes. But let me explain. If you give meaning to your anxiety, if you give power to your fear, then yes, it can kick you out of state. But if you don't, then it doesn't matter. There's this verse in Scripture that says, resist the devil and he will flee. Now, keep in mind, the devil is just a metaphor. It's just a psychological metaphor for doubt or fear or anxiety. And so the word resist, though, it's very interesting. When you break it down from the Greek, you don't get the idea that there's something there at all. In fact, it really means just to double down on your conviction. I like to call it the psychological double down. What that means is you become stubborn. Nevill likes to use the word brazen impudence. So what that means is you become so stubborn that resisting the devil, which means you don't resist your doubt. You don't resist your fear. You don't resist anxiety. Go ahead and feel through it, whatever you need to do. But when you do it, don't give it meaning. Don't give it, oh my gosh, I think it's just kicked me out of state. Because remember, we only get what we believe. We only get what we consent to in terms of the beliefs that we accept as true. So if we believe that we're powerful and we're always the first cause, then there's no such thing as a second cause. Fear can't be a second cause. Fear can't be a player. That's up to us. But then we also learn, and we can learn skills for example, like reframing. So reframing is the ability to look at fear or anxiety or doubt and call it something else. Call it an opportunity to become a better manifester. Call it a better opportunity to become more patient. Call it a better opportunity to understand yourself better. Call it a better opportunity to spend more time with yourself. And so what you want to do is you want to not look at fear or doubt or anxiety as an enemy, because what the scriptures say, we should love our enemies. So that means all of the inner enemies that we have accepted as true of ourselves. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to understand that love is more powerful. Now, I don't really like to use the word love. I think it's too idealistic. And so I think, let me give you a better understanding. And I actually take it from the Greek notion of love, which is agape, which actually Jesus in Scripture uses as the highest form of self-sacrifice. And this is exactly what's going on behind the curtains of that particular word, whether you adopt it from Jesus's appropriation from the Greek or just the Greek itself. A better way to understand it is death to the ego. So then your ego is all about self-protection. So that means doubt, fear, anxiety. These are just forms of self-protection. Your brain's not doing anything wrong in that regard. You should not hate your brain for doing that. It's designed to do that. But you have to retrain it otherwise. Right? So in the midst of this, what you have to fully grasp and accept is that to love something is to change states. To love something is to get rid of that part of the ego and to say, actually, I don't need to be afraid. I don't need to be doubtful. I don't need to be anxious, because anxiety is about self-trust. Fear is about what if, right? So again, that comes back to your own power. Do you believe that you have enough power, right? And all three of these, doubt, fear, and anxiety, are all real bound up on whether you believe you're God, whether you believe that you are capable of actually overcoming this period of doubt or this period of anxiety or whatever it is that you're going through. So I wanted to give you practical tips today. Notice I'm outside. Well, neuroscience research shows that even getting outside, even having a plant in front of you, even if it's fake, will actually help you down-regulate the fear centers of your brain. So if you can, make it a regular practice to get outdoors. And why not? I mean, it's just so beautiful wherever you might be, hopefully. And so, if you can't, then you can use neuroscientific techniques like, for example, the physiological sigh. And then there's also what's referred to as the 4, 7, and 8 breathing technique. And that one you have to do about 5 times before it down regulates the amygdala. So how do you do that? So 4, 7, and 8 refers to the times you breathe. So 4 is 4 breaths in, and then 7 seconds to hold, and then 8 seconds to blow out. Sorry for the noise, but I wanted this to be outside on purpose. So again, you have to do that 5 times minimum for it to actually work. The physiological sigh is taken from Andrew Huberman. And so definitely check out his YouTube channel on that. So the physiological sigh is simply just a quick breath in and then dropping your shoulders and then making the sound. And you can do this anywhere, right? You may not want to do too much of this in, you know, in public, but unless you want to find out who your real friends are. So you can, but again, use these techniques and use them whenever doubt comes up. Use them whenever anxiety comes up. Use them whenever fear comes up. And then also learn to love your fears. And again, not like embrace them in that sense, but embrace them like somebody who's hurt. Nevill talks about the dweller within, an article I wrote on Reddit, so please check that out. But, you know, he basically comes to this conclusion about the dweller within, which is this kind of like embodiment of all of his fears. And he says, I am determined, no matter how long it takes, if it takes my whole life, to learn to love these. And so again, remember, love is not this idealistic abstract idea. It's just like death to this particular part of yourself. But how do you die to it? You love it. You love it to death, right? And so I would encourage you to get really good at embracing your own fears and doubts and normalize loving them, because that's what you're capable of doing.